Sinde tukpe lop tu sama kungkam sa. Ta tunda dingwe de nganzu lop tsen de tip de nge. Tari nganzu di mutu ni che and tamatele ya tari nge gingwe ne pinhole camera kani ya mixage deshesh kya yi. And pinhole camera di kiransu ta tande nangla chazan changmelo nangla shugu yu zan tari nganzu pin nangla pa shugu rinla ya nganzu project leshi chunju shitone pinhole camera di sodan de che and pinhole camera di so to ben kiranso pejo tan darwa dinala chodan de ge dikan ya doctor chidan da dinala ya nga joge ne ni sodan di nga chazan ji dinala de she ge gi an kiranso dige chazan ji camera tone soso running ne pinhole camera di so to be na yagushita yore de che da nga jo 다른 게 주시 디칸라 말레 코네야 진짜 ngu마데리야 가저 카리티메 디칸이야 직자종 두두진다 다텔이야 dunta ngoma de la nge ge kiran so lop sen de tip kap so tiba kha chile ya len ke bi chabe yin nga zo tiba dige de kya du ji cb na dunta ngoma de la nga zo khar khar chai merwa de le ya nga zo ge dunta ngoma de le ya we khan la se du sambal so ta we se ya di topic light. It's a very subjective term because normally when we speak of light nga zo we khan la ke she kap so 왜 생에디 지단 조시디 캡션 비스타체 디 나라야 간주 당 간주 깨시셰브 값을 내려야 쪼고 간주 통대바 디간을 깨시고 봐 가리 통대바 디간이야 깨시되고 그래 왜 나라야 간주 통대바 디다 딜이야 간주게 visible light 슈그로 봐 visible light 체 아니 야왜 릭직 간주 마통바 딘데 유그래 딘데 값이야 간주게 딱 페나 마통버 왜 카레카리 유메디야 지금 아주 radio wave 라서 보다 microwave 라서 보다 딘데 infrared ultraviolet 디 찾아 지금 아주 페나 visible 단당 아주 topic 디치다 다가랑 간라 야게셔 visible light 통데부디체 다 망부지 양 아주 invisible 야르바 간졸이야 밀이야 invisible today into invisible light 나리야 다 아주 radio wave 체 망부 용구와 electromagnetic 지당에 다직 다당하게 셔야디 딩월 duntangu마들 왜 세나 가르에서도 리바 망부치 가는 아주 대시기야버와 왜디 뉴슈지 비체 다가당 신게 왜디 라비 비체 랍치기 비체 뉴슈세도 light is an energy, right? More precisely it's a kinetic energy. Then we also notice that light is a wave, light is a radiation, and you may even say finally light is an electromagnetic wave or radiation. 독시 정아주 요간에 야다 대시 소소게 단 직내세레 바베 라 딘데게 요간에 야 대시 yap나 망부 용그래 따치 간주 진 두베도 차샤베 나 요스도 가르에서나 아주 something that helps us to see things 라 아주 미기 that makes thing visible for us the ditch kan la ya chik tap te which kan la de shegem na ya mati was ke yo mare nga ju we maybe na thong thong mar wa mik chi chum dar wa kyan su nothing e chag wa na gun do chi so there has to be some source of light there has to be a light in order to see things around us so we digging nga ju thong thwe gi nu ba chi yo ba che of course ta nga ju ya me gi di ya ko gru ba dina ta chang ma chi chik de ba ta di gru ba source of light you but and then light ray chi yung go but and then nga ju chik receive ching chik nga ju mig the che ani mig ne cha chene ani di he di gang la ya chik thama de la interpret ching yung go ba di la de she gyang chik ta di khari in da men da chondo khari in da men da cha san ta lebe gi decide chi ba so to session nga ju ta di mangbo chik nyam to thu de do wa chik ka information the process she dan di. So the invisible lights do radio wave che then infrared tange khashe chin da ultraviolet UV ray dige de invisible ra nga thong thwe yo mare nga thong khwe yo mare dige de da samje kha chi gi da infrared da UV ray dige de thong thwe gi nu ba yor de ne milya din nu ba yo mare we don't have the capacity to see these light these are invisible light for us normally nga de topic the joshi the light se sambala what we are dealing with is nga jo khari chang ko arsena digana visible light tagarang gala nga jo focus shi gorta nga jo che keji shesa the joshi the dirta light se du 디디파 샤브체 간선딩 아주 통해 매버체 봐 당아주 통 데브디 디르바 visible light and visible light 나라 vib GYOR the color dundirwa chondo dundi violet indigo blue green yellow orange red cheche chondo dundi gal ke shade gorba so that's a visible light ngazu then the part dinala cv na kiran so visible light na che jadi ngazu the different colors that we see in the rainbow these are the visible light right ta de ngazu dunda ngoma de ya thiwa khar khar le me ngazu see darwa what is light cheche hösena karare cheche darwa thoma hösena nushu reda mata ngazu investigate che gorwa ngazu so thiwa di lab chene ani so samtangi tangi cheche chedange hösena energy re labya di le labu yorte ine ya ngon jin thoya de ya tek kal khansam chi kago yungurwa khaji le ya hösena nushu re sebe ina 가르치니 나세지 양 즉 트버지랑 신기leg도 다 딜량 삼단 진의 제버체 금젠다 된부터 내니 즉 가리셰게 여버디 콩도 롱직 콩 독사시고 그래마도 양직 다가스 랍삼게 되고 말봐 왜스나 뉴슈지레스 다디 양 삼단다 대셰 갸단다 망부 용그레때 이네야 즉 답대셔도 체베이나 즉 계산 두당고마 땡에 배준셰스와 모터지기 미치려야 모터도 주고 샤베이나 주고 데베이나 아니 미딜라 녀섭케요 말봐 모더디기 레가스케 체통 말와 개시 모더디 침비이나 즉 교세 시간에 침비이나 아니 메딜라 슈비이나 모더디기 미디 토라 레가지 체기도 와다 딜레가 디 체버 딜레야 가지다 work done 시르와 다 딜레야 work done 디 컨디슬레 투 레가 체기 디 카릴라 땡친 충벌세나 땅 모버 딜레야 모더디 차샤비나 콜레야 뉴주주요 버지 땡고와 뉴슈 매베이나 레가 디 체투 말와 소 독세제네 콜라 뉴슈디 컨디스라브레 체시네 야 직삼단도 코 굴려자 when the object the object here is the car when the car moved it gained kinetic energy, right? So whenever there is motion, there is kinetic energy. So kinetic energy is something related to movement of the object, motion of the object. So when the object moved, the 모더디 구조 태백값수, 모더디 침백값수, 콜레야 뉴슈지 여버체, 뉴슈지 굴버 라텐치는 뉴슈디라버체 에너지디와. and 딕 게임 베기 and 거기 미들리아 레가지 체토스와 so 간다 디낭신게 간주 단다 딜레 삼담베나 ö들 차샤베나 간주 ö디 잠린난 류 따지 여기 중국다 망보 용그래 와 그래서 딩에 드시 잡주충 지금 여기 중국 돈 예베제베나 지금 간주 가시그래 간주 primary source 세진에 독시 용그로 봐 secondary source 세진에 자 primary source 세두 잠발야 지금 컨디션 슈고레 those that emits their own light those that produce their own light so 랑 ö디 토토바 딘지실야 베나 니마도 차샤베나 that's a primary source of light for this planet all the living organisms. So sun is a primary source. That's a very good example of a primary source of light. 님의 ö디. 다 님의 ö디 저 차샤베는 간주 잠린리 야 레벨이 야 투주고고레 ö디 기 교세디 다 간주 kondu shubi dingode 300,000 님의 ödi 차샤베는 300,000 kilometers per second. That's the speed of light in vacuum, or you may say slightly approximately similar to this speed in air also. So the nation do 님의 ödi 즉 님의 제제 잠링 받을래라 가마 get 고고레 가츠모 가주 교고이나 두수주고 오고도 와. So 간다 가주 잠링나 랩고 고 교고 쇼지 랩고 speed dentist 간 랩고. So the do speech object move chige na dagi kontu shubnashi ngobuchi move chige yobi na antilia nushu chuyobache. So light dia move chige yosa koleya nushu chuyoba sebre odu shechne. So light is an energy do sheje yan chingonzin tue yore. Dan tagna shinge light the wave imba la imba ta di jan gerab lu junal ji chungdan de ba deshe gyapdan de chungrim de ba sevi na di na tsari ba mangbu chi phangrim che ma che chin deshe gyap gi chen yore wa an di na zo che shu chi Maxwell sing tsari ba chungbre wa ta ti krang gi Maxwell gi deshe gyawe di ta la imba chi wa chi kasigre ge ngodi ta chi lab chi imba che 아니 랍기 균에 아니 즉 뉴슈셔 봐 에너지디 다직 사지식네 직라파 다직 같이랭아 저기 오덴체 토바다 무브 체토바 트랜스퍼 체토바 so wave is a I can say it's a medium to which the energy get transferred. Wave is it's nothing but transfer of energy from one point to another. ra den de chik point chik ne sa chik ne chik le ya energy de nu shu chi ta chik transfer la na ta chimbarwa de chi pa kitwe de da wave gi unit ro wa so de she chine nime yo ne nime de nime ne che chang adu zamling bad le thwe di chik wave gi gulam chi gi thon li gi yo bati do station gap re maxwell chung pare de ne hertz chung pare de de thon de she gap che che thamate ve da ö gi ngo de ya lab chi ba che lab na na ya lab la ya ta nga zo rig damina zo yung kuru ba zo yo gi lab de chik nga zo gi ngo di chik kandido chi me chi shevi na it's an electromagnetic in nature wa duk che chene da da nga zo sound chi do da di gi lab di da yo gi lab ni ngo di tes logar wa so du she chen dan de zene ge we kap se ya da di ko la lab lob zen de ma thi re tu du sam ba ya kina zo chik hyap si nyen be na lab se de kandichi la lab se na khar re sha lab ti gi chik ye ba khar tu de chi ma de she ge gre tu du sam ba pe je te se bu cha gr sam gu so yo gi kon la de she du she nga zo rimba she she mang bo chi ne de she ge yore di dun ta ngo ma de ya kina zo kya jun su du ya si na di re wa de ne tibni bu chik where does light come from la chik chung bre ani yo di khaban nga zo la ya leb gi me khaban ne chung ba yi me khaban ne leb gi me di nga zo ke she du sam ba ani se nga zo chung kan ke she du primary source yore secondary source yore pena nga do cha sha be na I'm not a primary source because I don't emit my own light I don't produce my own light so therefore I am not a primary source I'm a secondary source because I reflect light the studio now you have a log to getting x and they get reflected and that's how you are able to see me tuk se chene pa che kan jo ge ta yogi left side di chung khung di pa che ju che bi na yak chi ngo bu kha chi gi ya che yo di su su rang yo di ta che ka su re produce cheba tot din de chi re kha chi gi ya su rang yi ngwe ne yo di ke so ma thu ba che ibe ne te to tho chi bar wa yo di to tho che ba do chi la re the secondary source and primary source sun example that pel chabe na pech lembe na ya shodi go chu sun is a primary source I'm a secondary source table chair or these walls the whiteboard everything these are the secondary source because they do not produce their own light and then nga jo ge chik nga jo ge ning ji bu chi ya di kap tu du zambali ya joshi diga la sokja semje mangbu ji nga zo da chi me gi so sha ba chi artificial mangbu yung dwa pena ya tube light so but primary source na la ya natural yung re artificial yung re sun is a natural source of light primary source re te ine ya natural ba tu dang ma de cha ba source of light na la ya source of light na la ya ta chi primary che to session and then secondary when a secondary source of light ge example step when the moon is a secondary source of light na zo daga dirwa an daga de ngan nanga gon sena gon ya thong de ko ge yoji thogi bi thong go re te ine ya does moon produce its own light ta di marwa ta di kan sam da na daga ge so rang ge we di chi thothu re mare di kan sam da be na ta ngan zo na de lunar eclipse la so yorwa lunar eclipse lunar eclipse kisi moon is a luminous object then there will not be any lunar eclipse derwa samnashtam beina so te dakarane chik sebushura thugudwa moon is not a primary source of light moon is not what should I say it's not a luminescent object you are luminescent object the non-luminescent objects se do luminescent object is those which produce their own light luminescent object non-luminescent so moon is not a luminescent object because it does not produce its own light if it produces its own light then there wouldn't have been any lunar eclipse or dusra so secondary sources of light myself is a very good example of secondary source of light primary source of light na ya ye bache bi na ya natural the artificial yungurwa natural na ya tube light that get chazan rami gonda natural sedu sambale rangshing girwa sun stars and if you remember last week I talked about some animals that produce their own light and we call them as bioluminescent lady socha semjen rikchirwa pen a firefly is a bioluminescent firefly gonda tsana kon ya bujtwa ko shugu de yo chikapchine yo thogdwa digi ta the example chirwa firefly that's a bioluminescent animal it produces its own light so there are so many other animals many of them are found in the sea chonala ya jellyfish rikhachi gi ungure dana shingi ya chi busing chonangi denge busing khachi octopus khachi da dinde gi mangbo chi soja simchi mangbo chi squid la so pa dinde they produce their own light. We call them as bioluminescent. Animals that produce their own light is called bioluminescent. Right? So bioluminescent kana ya chik tonaj che da kyan so tajang wo chene ra khar khar to sem che so cha dige pen firefly do cha sha bin na kunzu ge how are they able to produce their own light? Why can't we produce our own light? Why do they produce their own light? Tuk session tibadi sam tam be na ya so so ngone investigate chi chogwa chik ya de kana ya research tende 저게 samtang soso running and samnota 타장고 데네마 로 카리티샤 디나 줌젠 디게 바 제조체 라 독 세션에 최초그레 쉐이 so bioluminescent 라이디다 지단 프로틴 데게 chemical reaction 제규르지기 뭐 토네라 오 독 세션에 콘주기 수분알 제규지기 중구엽에 토네 due to a certain chemical reaction they can emit their own light right and then protein exactly that dinala stocha dinala bioluminescent animals nala they've got a specific protein which helps them in conducting all these chemical reaction and you look out for that particular name of that protein right this should 당 예시에 먹어봐 찾아 기란종원에 대해서 right information 망보증 아주 야 까브까브 엔데 연구도 ready made 된데 대비나 즉 소송원에 제주제 제 먹어봐 제로와 아니 장마 랍데비나 아니 도와서게요 말해 까베야 소송원에 에디 가르샤 삼노야 즉 르벤니버티 삼탄치네야 대간 제주제 가르샤 즉 삼탄치네 제주제 투비나 안 되게 기란솔라 펜토체 연구래 독시에 다 간다 예대샤기 primary source da secondary source niche and primary source the luminescent object lana digidu secondary source the non luminescent objects na digidu luminescent object na ya yebachevi in a natural yungure artificial digging also candle electric bulb all these are artificial natural nala sun stars firefly bioluminescent all these are natural right 독세진의 가장 source of light kana light kawane where does light come from 데 독세 다데네 티버디젤 양에게 object 디게 디야 예버치 제빙이와 I differentiated object like transparent objects 디게 예버치 제빙나 transparent 체제 직체 transparent and then we've got translucent and then we've got opaque object right so these are the three different kinds of object transparent those which allows the light to pass through for example water glass and the tiwaji ungurwa pure transparent object yone mena chechinirwa azu nangi shegodo chivi inarda are they really transparent are they pure transparent we normally say it's a transparent object like water is a transparent object air is a transparent object then glass is a transparent object there's some other objects also which are transparent in nature but are they really pure transparent but 당마 가르세게 만족이 오늘 당내게 해매베기 pure transparent 이나 매나 체치네 야 트워지고 조그래와 가스나 양증 아주 transparent 시위인베나 light 디 차산지 pass 셰고그와 all the light has to pass through that object then only we can say it's a pure transparent object 셰고 디가 가나 여지 퍼비나 do they form a shadow 추가나 여지 퍼비나 do they form a shadow 그래서 shadow 직 팀나 수교에 있나 알아봐 되게 얘네 가르쳐 거스나 라이트 차산지 유네 지 가지그래 두기메버치라 지 같이 차시 지 까기 없어도 지 light kavi na obstruct chevi na then only a shadow is formed, right? So pure transparent object over sang mang anju tanda namgyu ne pezwe mang buch dan deba di chasa chi pure transparent in the menda, but normally we say they are the pure, they are transparent. Glasses are transparent, right? But are they really pure transparent? That could be a good question. Then opaque object, those which obstruct the light, those which block the light, those objects which do not allow the light to pass through. So transparent, those objects that allow the light to pass through. We call them as transparent. You can give the example of a glass, water, air. So all these are transparent objects, right? And then we have got translucent object. Those objects that partially allow light to pass through. Light to pass through. For example, tracing paper. All these are example tracing paper, butter paper. These are translucent, and some of the glass may even be translucent. Then we have got opaque object. Those objects that do not allow light to pass through. That's an opaque object. Example, there are so many examples of opaque object, including myself. Duk shechene kanda transparent, translucent, opaque object shechene. Mobutige dipa yevasumla che. The next question was how does light travel? How does light travel? Right? Chidan light travel. Chidan the wave ki form na re. They travel in the form of a wave. Lab ki mo thone ra. Light di. Okay. Lab ki mo thone ra. Oduk shesh dogo re. That's called a wave. Let's say this is the normal position, mean position. So up and down, up and actually the thing is light is an, as I mentioned earlier, that light is an electromagnetic wave. Electric field, the magnetic field ni yungurwa. It's a two-dimensional figure. I can't draw it properly. So the Julia slide getting it yungurwa. Tina then dumba the nyamalop scientific up swing is the tempe slide the light gi lab the electric field x axis the y axis nija gana ya electric field chichi gana magnetic field nija perpendicular to each other right angle gana yoba duk shechne right angle digala ya kesi y axis the gana ya electric field yoba na x axis the gana magnetic field yoba duk shechang ajo tyongo re ta ganda light travel che di wave ki form na chik travel chigre ya nesu shibashton sheve na light travels in a straight line la neti gitwa light travels in a straight line khatu dukres tanda digala tanda di choshi de pejing di but tibati how does light travel se du sambali ya tibati nge chita ta khwalen da mangbutu te ne what I mean to say is, do they travel in a straight line or do they bend around? So the young Tibetan lady light travels in a straight line. The Kumzen the Kazang Dundanguma Cheguchi Tony Cheba, Benakatu Cheve in a pipe suru Katu Chebe and I can look through. this straight pipe the pipe the nga zo ge pukdong do the khatu din me tebe na phajo tele ya nga zo ngo bo the khari bo nge thong thu dwa that's because light travels in a straight line. If I bend it ma kuk be na pipe the ma kuk be na ta kyo kyo imbe na dok shesh ne pipe the had it been like this kesi pipe the kuk yo ro chimbe na ani dele ya ngo bo khari bo nge thong thu marwa I won't be able to see what's on the other side of the pipe. So, light always travels in a straight line. When we say light does not travel, when we say that light travels in a straight line, it's still an incomplete sentence. What we have to say is light travels in a straight line when it goes in one medium. Medium chignal ya chimbeina, kulum chignal chimbeina. ni ko khatu tu gres ta gyulam chola gyuba chimbe ina ani ko kyo tu gres ta di gyulam ka chu yo de me gang ke shigirwa when light travels in one medium, let's say there is let's take the example delia gyulam chik mash mevache and there is only air medium inside and now I take these two pipe right in first one, I take a straight pipe and I see through it. I'm keeping my eye on this side and I'm supposed to view this object. Let's say this object, which is kept at the other end. I can very well see through the pipe. I can see the object. If the pipe is bent like this, now will I be able to see through the pipe? Will I be able to see the object on the other side? No. So the light light does not bend. Light does not bend. Light goes in a straight line. Condition medium we are considering only one medium and that is the air. Now if there are suppose two different medium kesi nganzu dele gyulam ni yabi na pena here we have air medium outside the air medium. Now this is a glass medium. And let's say suppose the light is coming in this direction. Now it will bend. It won't go straight, but it will bend. And that's because there is a change in the medium. Medium ni dwa dele ya. So it goes straight, but when the light changes its medium, then it bends. We call this phenomena as refraction. Light we call it as refraction. So it's called refraction. And why refraction occurs? It's because the speed of light changes. In air, it's around 300,000 kilometers per second. But in glass, it's 200,000 kilometers per second. So there is a change in the speed of light. This one, then only it bends. Bending the refraction light kyokti. So chida refractions change in the direction of refractions change in the direction of wave, because light is a wave. Actually it's a wave. So kesi turbulent then we say it's refraction. And refraction is the bending of light. It's a bending of light. But actually refraction is change in the direction of wave. Refraction. When the medium changes. Medium Kede medium chigrana, then there will be no refraction. Right? There will be no refraction. Light always go in a straight line. So whenever you say, does light travel in a straight line? You have to be very specific with your sentence. Yes, light travels in a straight line, but the condition is that there has to be only one medium. That has to be specified. If the medium changes, then it won't go straight. It will bend. And that bending or that change in the direction of light is called refraction. How do we see things like you can see me, I can see this object. How is it possible that I can see this object? And that's because light from the ceiling, which is in the studio, falls on this object and they get reflected. The doctor chigwa the studio now you have light the la po over the la po and over the doctor chi. Some part of the light may be absorbed by this object. If you remember, whenever light falls on an object, what happens? Three things are most likely to happen. First is reflect. It gets bounced. It bounces back, right? It bounces. So, second thing is it may get absorbed. Light may get absorbed. So, and the light that is being absorbed by the object gets converted into heat energy. So absorb nature black color absorbs more light. Light color absorbs less light. Because the only reason is that absorbs good amount of light. Duche. Takanda ödi timgores kachik ödi kachik timgurwa ngobudinal. Dene tamatela ya kesi di imbeina transparent object imbeina ane di refraction di ungurwa ödi taking a shubnashi ödi chokto cheba. It changes the direction or the refraction. So they can do when the medium is transparent, when the object is transparent. But this is not transparent. So here we have got now refraction. Refraction here majority of the light is being reflected and maybe some part of the light, some amount of light are being absorbed by the object. And when light falls on this object and they get reflected, and the reflected rays goes into my eye, and my eye, the sensory cells in my eye, the photoreceptor cells, linking tabungchi ungurwa mignal. And the gegi lebanal patching and lebanal tangchin and lebegita chebachirwadi sondo karidosha, the chimangboji, mobudi kariresha, the sopta, the yip, the sangmachirwa, all those session ekanda, that delia, mobu tong to it, the cumzobudi because of the reflection of light. The bounce chesan, the doctor chesan. We see things. So how do we see things, lady? And that's because of reflection of light. Doctor chesan, mazungobudi tongores. That delia. 단당에게 디직 기란솔라 tibadigedche and the chaza kesangma sabacherwa these are bioluminescent. How does light travel? The activity changes. How do you see things like dirwa? When light falls on an object, they get reflected, and the reflected rays enter into our eye, and there are cells in our eye which receives these light and then sends them to the brain. And brain interprets everything, brain processes them, and brain decides everything about the object or what we see. 도시 안에 다데네 다들 트부직디 다린직 why do leaves and grass look green? Why do we see this thing as green? 추디게 마우 가르친 통고래 랍초에 용구래 다들 천도 짬을 통디도 안 오고 디게 가르친 통고래 디날직 CV나 기나죠 because ngaju nyime di 천도 dungi 소샤브디 용다로 치체 봐 that is called a visible light tagingo shuswangegi visible light ring ngaju 통데버디 so visible light now 천도 dunyo 와 dun디 ngobu치 간 포도 삼발라 로마 페나 로마치 간 ngobu디 포비나 if this is a light and color dunch povi na, let's say these are the 7 different colors. So these are the 7 different. When I say color, I can even use the word wavelength for the term color. Color se ke marishimba wavelength manda dunruwa. 7 different wavelength. Color 7 different color, 7 different wavelength. Chiku chikan. Ta loma de kan photo zama khachu loma de jangu thongwa gyumse di let's say ta dine nganzo ge RYGBIV color dun di inda. Right? Ta di color dun na ne color shemba chaza chik loma de absorb shiru horba. Leave absorb all the different color except the green one. Green gets reflected. Green ni kogi absorb shigo mar kogi reflect shigo re. An te songza nga wavelength green color gi wavelength nga zu meg na chinsa jangu thongor. So gyumsen de da derwa nga zu sa jangu thong. Kushu ma ko khasin thongor because color dun de nime ö di kan povi na kushu kan povi na color dun na ne red color get reflected. All other color get absorbed by the apple, so that's why we see apple appear red. Time be na dele ya samtang wa shi red wa nye kyan so the twitch go ko wa dele ya is black color nzu na ko thong gu wa kasna color dun na la visible light na la nakpo di yo mare chondu nakpo di neither black nor white color ka bu da black white shade di dele ya ketio mare black white. So do you think there are colors? Black is black a color? Normally say ngajo ya chonda chikta art and craft period the drawing that they chonda tam pick up so ya ngajo di picture ga chirwa black color. All black color go to sis right. Then then the whiteboard the color typical so ya there black in color to black color mark pen page tang gitwa. The black the color red mare la chi. Similarly white is white a color. That ikran samna erta. Black is black a color, is white a color. Because what happens? Everything appears black, right? So black in light mena black redwa. So black sing color never the business mix napordo. Tell a color light mena black tongudwa. So is black a color. Think about the lane chick. Kete dele loma jangu thongya di gyumsen de kharela so chonda dyun di na ne jangu di doctor chesa chonda jangu di doctor chesa di chesa loma di jangu thongorwa. Now imagine if there is no reflection of green light. Kesi green light reflect chigi mena loma gi. Imagine if all the colors are being absorbed by the leaf. Loma di color chasa chonda dyun di chasa absorb chigi na it does not reflect any light. Imagine if leaves do not reflect any light. Imagine if leaf absorbs all the color. Then what color do we see? Loma di sonda khandero stongdo khabr. Check che. Tiwanyibadi. Tangi tibadi de tishana. Ya kiran sometimes yungruwa. I'm going to write the question, you think on it. And then here, so get some no tangra. Lanza lens hemo, so going to some no stan. Yeah, the day you could send in the hypothesis that the Suzuki some sushi the proof jewel shigitarwa in a hypothesis some sushi shugurwa. And it took Suzuki the day zero to get in Yamtoya, some sushi and you can have a debate. So the earlier discussion yung chogre. Then, delaying it to the tangbody in the what if leaf absorbs all the colors. What if leaf reflects all the colors? Then you loma de candidates tongu na se tewani de kan che. So I'm not going to answer these questions. You can think on it. Do she tadene dinda dijela dikazan shoots have what happens if light falls on any object? 3 things may happen. Either the light ray get reflected, or they may get absorbed, or they may get transmitted. Transmit cheval the medium the transparent do shkugruwa no do she and then the chelaya so the refraction chenge de shya sawache tatene shadow kana kesanguma ken sheba shadow se du sambali ya kharsa area in that area where there is no light the digital shadow is an area or a region where there is no light 왜 매사기 차군치라 서구치라 야 라바 야나 야균치라 드레치 사지치리 양아족이 shadows 슈그루와 다 shadow 계산경망에게 데려야 제고 싶던에 shadow들이야 즉 서구가 만다바니 region 대제 만다바니 지여버칭에 캔슬 된소와 나 된체네 기대 나고 디여버들이야 암브라체 아니 타들이야 대참기 나고 매버들이야 아니 페남브라체 슈도와 아니 shadow form cups. Whenever a shadow is formed, umbra is always there. Penumbra may or may not be formed depending upon the light, source of light, whether it's an extended or it's a point size, and the distance of the object from the source of light. So penumbra, umbra, cheche, these are the two regions of shadow. The central darkest region is called the umbra, and they're surrounded by a fainter shadow that is called the penumbra. So there are two regions of a shadow, namely umbra and penumbra. Dukshe, then what is a pinhole camera? Pinhole camera pinhole camera actually I made two pinhole cameras. And pinhole camera so de sta yore ra ta nge de pinhole camera ni yore ta de room din ala nga joge ang ba din alia ta ö shuk shum sta chilo ta be na ya sta thongure pe ning ji thongure ra an de le ya ö de shuk shum sta me du sambale ya tesam ki sebo ke thongu mare so but nge gi kiran so le ya di ma shik chene khades khar khar tu nang lo di ma shi tong ro ba so de le ya pinhole cameras gi thangbu di ma nge ji so di nang lo khar khar pe ju ta me ji ji an kiran so nang pa so chog ro ba 당에 마 식식이다 디 소교디 녹시니 트랩 담샤이레 녹시 된다 아딩에 트랩나 다데르 조치 디 나네 얘기 하래 다디 키란소 디르다 Pringles chip ki box rochre actually you can take any box rectangular shape box or cylindrical shape whatever you find nge del tanga cylindrical shape chi yosenge dus lempi tadinge nalong oginda khari khari yomesta se tuk sheshinire so Pringle box na you did shoba ding ege to be samstine neri kesi kiran na la Pringle box de yobi na de yobi na chips box de tene centimeter ni ro centimeter sa gonda inch ni ro lench ne height inch base ne inch ni ro lench ne nge top shabi an top chene khatu top chene ro atikang la ngege transparent sheet chik from the ragre kiranso yana kiranso digana ya transparent sheet the mave transparent sagonda translucent sheet the mave na tracing paper the mave na ani kiranso ya num shugu gala ya chik namjune white sheet de gal num chuchne pejutang chogre ta dinge ma shibe na nge do step tamsharwa dokshishnra this is the transparent sagonda the this is the tracing paper that I have used. Gogo stup chinirwa tracing paper dire par paper de nam ju nal yobe in pejtan digre yan num chu chine shu ka bu dire kan le pejtan na digre wa an dikan la ya igun dikal kap share do chine you fix the tape around the paper dos semya chedrwa tan nge tape chabna shi ale lab stare an di and ni di joint share khatu sha and tape gis yakuchne fix nge de black tape pejtan be because it will not allow the light to pass through wa dinala yodi zubene as image changma thong marwa deshine it should be everything should be every light should be blocked from entering into the box 독세시네 간다 깝고래 차산 탭이야 굿담 and then end ditch네 and ditch 동바르와 from this end we are going to see the then 이군들이야 얘기 될라야 초드네 초딜이야 샵들이 얘기 이군 추주직 이군 전부 맞다 이군 전부 수수에 있는 교양 가리운 그랬으나 image the blurred 통구리 세부 통구만에 이군 춘주 옆에 있는 캡슐로지 이군 춘주직 that's why we say pinhole camera pin스나 캥기로 와키란 쪽 아주 핀로지 구그르마 또야 이군 전부 수실렘베 있는 아주 야고 통구리 짱아 통구 된데겠지 말해 이군 가수 전부 실렘베 있는 대삼기 image get distorted blurred those 통구리 짱마 통 말해 it should be pinhole you have to make a pinhole here 캡로지기 pinhole 치네 쪽치 기델이야 라네 이군 디스 안데네 차브레 키란소 딘타에레 image 통구리 세슈에 so then let us start all you need is a 당아주 디르와 box khari lene degree shoe box khari lene degree ro khari nang khari yobe na dindage yone degree so tele ya translucent paper do shku du maybe in num chune kiran so search ho gre ro odin de sobe ina ani kiran so pinhole camera ready re ani kiran so chilo sibe ina ta thenge pinhole camera di sodan di lela start do ta so deshe di da pinhole camera lega chidan de khare so chabe chula kiran so ta darwa pinhole camera nge de so jo dire ro chembu and then tabe ina kiran so image thongre ro tang azu thari pinhole camera gi lega chidan de kechimbu inda pin na khare re how does it work di kan le yang azu keche shegi daring gi joshi tamadi and ya gusia tangbo de la pinhole camera as you can see in making this pinhole camera I didn't use any lens ngedina lens ke kan pech thime azu namgyu ne camera se du zambala we're supposed to have a lens in a camera. But in making this camera, it's very simple. We don't need any sort of lens, any lens. Also, they go lens so pinhole camera say do simple a camera without a lens. Camera lens matang camera chiglaya pinhole cameras shugure. We are not using any lens in making this camera. That's why it's called a pinhole camera. Tatene 이군데네 pinhole camera 나라 이군데네 어디 주체네 아니 tagging 얘기 paper dikan this paper translucent paper act as a screen this screen ge lega do chigo light enters through this pinhole and the image is formed on this screen right image kwa sugre on the screen on this piece of sheet translucent sheet and light enters through this pinhole diche so the dechele yang ajugi pinhole cha a camera without a lens and light enters through the pinhole and image is formed on the screen. So such camera are called pinhole camera. Now how does it work? Pinhole camera lega khande chigume. Now look into the slides. The slide digisia. Go to pele bringe denala. Tangbode khattigidu. Sun rays shine onto an object. So there has to be a source of light. Room na gunshna the camera di sive na kya ke kan thong marwa. You have to take it outside. Where there is a plenty of light. So sun is a primary source of light, and when the sunlight falls on an object, what happens is it gets reflected. The object reflects the light. As I mentioned earlier, maybe some of the light get absorbed, and some of them get reflected. And if the object is transparent, then the light may get refracted, but over here the object is tree, so the tree absorbs the light. As you know, how can you prove that tree absorbs the light? Now that's because the leaves, they photosynthesize, they absorb the light in making food for themselves. So photosynthesis dilaya chungbalaya nye zejo chungbalaya ani nyeme ödi kalchigre zu lengirwa lome nangi jangze dige zu lengirwa nyeme ödi zu lengirwa so di zu lemba dinga zugi ta absorb chiba timbat di ta di sebu shure di ra töbche ta chingdong dinga zu 통그르베 라나 통그레 통그 여버디 가릴라 땡친 중벌에나 ödi shingdonggi nyeme ödi doctor cheba dil 땡친에와 so the light get reflected from the tree and the light passes through the hole. 아주 되게 pinhole camera 기 이공 춘추 쇠바 디 나라야 아니 어디 주그래 안 타마델이야 숨바델이야 pinhole 나라 주체네 image 디 가와 수그래 image is formed on the screen. 다 딩해 파티 나라야 키란소 세베나 image 디 가리 image 통그래 키란소 image 간데르 우치레셔와 but you can make your own pinhole camera and see what what kind of image is being formed on the screen kyanzo sia so rangi pinhole camera the search in touch and antinala image the khande ro stongu do nge thanda partner save na kyanzo khare ro stongu do the image is being inverted small size chunju redwa and is inverted so nge de ya dash chunju chya be na image the kan ya gu sia there ya interesting characteristics of image image ki call a dish the image khande to image ki khejo dikala characteristics of image formed in a pinhole camera so image called dish gabe na the first thing that you would notice is yeah option there image tang de part nang lo la inverted to you may observe it yourself is it erect or is it inverted gushu lo gyo redwe yana gudin lo gyo redwe yana khatu redwe sechine di chikranso di ni gang samushna che you make your own pinhole camera and observe the image formed by it and think on this statement if it is it erect image or is it inverted image right the tangbot cherwa nivedele ya small size or big size nge small size big size se di nge ki compare chigo da kharila compare chigo na I'm comparing the size of image with that of object na object la compare chigo da dele in comparison with object. Yeah, object la compare machive in how can you say that the image is big or small, right? So pena ya listen, right? The mavhina, can you tell me is it big? Is it small? Can you define it? Can you give me a statement? The chimbure de chunju de shetu marwa. Kissing a dindula till dikyung be na can you say is it bigger or is it smaller? Is it big or small? Compare chisach yebina, then you may say this is smaller. Chungadus latugruwa. Compare chisach mavina, that's a reference point. Right? So here we are taking the reference of in comparison with the size of object. So small redwe chunju redwe chem redwe ngazu nye su chugruwa pinhole camera nye su bdi ge chem redwe yana chunju redwe object ge chejung la ta chinerwa dukche tamadele ya real image or virtual image deinda that kedi kranzo real image the virtual image they call ya king mavi na ngema de tundu chi tari tamadelinda that real image the virtual image se du samba khande chu sugar se na khanda dingi de ghare se na these are the types of images image ki regni tirta so de chik image ke bacha ye de stivwa image la type ni there are two types of images real virtual real image virtual image right so we are here to distinguish between the two a real image the virtual image the lela shu real image can be formed on screen virtual image cannot be formed on screen. Dire that kebarta lelhashu chikala ya shevi na lelhashu de ta kebar de di ni dire real the virtual kesi image ek anga screen kan la ya sutub gu na but for example when you watch a movie the image is being projected on the screen and then you enjoy it right so kyanzo check lonye de civic capsu ya di kharsa check karsare lonye thamye gi ta check di mena de ge kyanzo thong de gi do ngajo they can screen can ya. And this image the candidate which is na, that's a real image. We see it on the screen, right? Then there are some images which are not formed on the screen. Screen can ya so to mare image to get it, tone to mare. So the image layer as a virtual image sig. 개발직 대체로와 virtual입니다. 개발 망부 용구로와 virtual 코드 레라 쇼디 독스 시치네 가지고 코드 트위그. 진짜 두개 솔이야. real image 카레스 virtual image 카레. 완타는 가지고 지게 ray diagram 장기매자 아니 가지고 다다데레 값수 파베 단데 데지간이야. 샤비나 real image 카레 virtual image 카레. 야 진짜 토르치베나 야 디간이야 단데 아니 카세르 두고 와야 디간이야 데시게다 만다데 용구레. 디즈라 So they get to see the Kiranzo Gezi pinhole camera the search and if you are able to see the image on the screen, then that image would be real. If you are not able to see the image on the screen, then the image would be virtual. So there are characteristics of image formed by a pinhole camera karashangi option kashish tevi damka kashish tevi ta dige di Kiranzo lane yabe chedu so ranking going pinhole camera so and then Kiranzo ge tashwa. 디난게 카르통구도 so option 디게디 마치 독시 안에 pinhole camera 디 기데셰디 타깅에 강을 갭사비 당보 가르치기래 light from the sun or a light from 카라스 인지미지 sun 고에요 말 you can take any primary source of light but that light should be quite strong enough 독세시네 간다 there should be a primary source of light and then ödi 가을 포그레 on the object the light falls on an object object 가르치기래 어디 reflect 치기래 독토 치기래 reflect 체체 간에 주기래 기라기 소샤바 pinhole camera 기 pinhole 치도와 hole 치도와 이군데니 주기래 이군데니 주체네 then what happens screen 주어바 디나 screen 디간라 기란서 따야래 image 수기도 멘도 어도 세션다 기란서 데시게래 first second third point wise session으로 도시 당보 카트가 니보 카트가 어도시 다기에 파르트널 된 사비 pinhole camera 스웨시네 기나서 따로치 안 기나서 데시게로치 소소라는 봐 독신 다 어디 진짜 두배기 어디 독 사브체 챕터 디나로 롭센 디나라 여기 간랑 아주 가시지 간에 데버타 진행에 데시게이 다 여건이한 단도직 십더도지 그냥 저 단도 야체를 장고서는 영화진데 둠바값슬라비레 진짜 개버값수일라비레 디게 디키나서 롭센 디게 디나 디게 어도신 센트로 부고서 아니 결정하고 제로치 안 키란소 직 토고 토모데 게파르레 야 삼주제 레체체네 소소게 제게야 가리 사바신 바디게데 파 미션 테체 발랍 안 트바디게 유베나 트두르치 제베나 펜수니가 펜 토두레 독세시 나오는 제 쉐이 아세 토치나네